She in the next room. All right, she can hear you, but nobody else can. All right, listen, we about to get this thing underway. Y'all know exactly what it is. Let's get to it, man. We're gonna bring this man with the fro, unlike anybody else. We're gonna bring his ass up here so y'all can see what's going on with him. What's happening? Hold up, bro. We're not gonna have him showing. We're not gonna let you be seen drinking lean, bro. We can't have you drinking lean on the scene, dog. What's really going on, dog? You over here drinking lean and shit, dog. First and foremost, oh dang, she done brought my mama plates out, y'all. She done brought my mama plates out. Okay. I'm dealing with this. I like this. My girl brought my mama plates out. Went to the fire ass, what is this? Fire ass Slim and Huskies.
You got the piece of Slim and Huskies?
You know what I'm saying? What, you don't know nothing about no Slim and Huskies, dog. You might have been Slim, you might be Husky, but you don't know about Slim and Huskies, dog. Okay, hold up. Let's get it.
Good pieces too.
All right, y'all, man. Listen, first and foremost, I don't know. He don't got no idea about no Slim and Huskies. Let's just get that straight right off the rip. He has no idea about no Slim and Huskies. What you know about Slim and Huskies, player?
Slim and Huskies is good.
What you know about it?
You can get you a big ass slice a pizza, or you can just go ahead and order you about a good 9-inch, 10-inch, and you can get the Cinnabons over there on the side. Come on, get out of here, man.
Bro, you wouldn't know what to do with 10 inches, bro. You wouldn't know what to do with 10 inches, dog.
I was blessed, okay? I was blessed.
Well, look, I'm being blessed right now, okay? I'm about to tear this pizza up. So, before we get into all of that, man, listen. How you been feeling, bro? We know you had came down with the Rona. You know what I'm saying? You was out here with the Rona, running around in the streets. What's going on, Lock?
Okay. But I'm smashing that bitch. And she getting crushed right now. She had me down, but you know what? Look, just like the rolling death pedal,
Akimi, you hear this? Akimi, you hear this?
You gotta break that
Akimi,
shit, okay?
You hear this?
I broke the fuck out that shit. That's what I did. I was like, you're not about to rolling death pedal.
So it was you pressed a 2 brake, but it was a giant swing. But it was a giant swing. You got your ass slammed.
Listen, I took the giant swing, okay? I took the giant swing, but I was not about to take the rolling death pedal. That was about to happen.
All right.
Shout out to the vitamin D, D3. Get y'all boys on some. Hold on, no, that's not what we talking about.
We don't want to hear about you on vitamin D, bro. We don't want to hear about you on vitamin D, bro. We don't want to hear about you on vitamin D, bro. Akimi, get him.
Get y'all boys some of that and get you some zinc. That's what y'all need. Y'all need some health food products. Hit your local GNC store up.
All right. Listen. We glad to have you here. Glad you're in good spirits and all that. Got a PlayStation shirt on. Don't even own the PlayStation. But listen. Nah, man, please. Okay. That boy Purple Fist. So let's get this thing cranked up, bro. Shout out LeBron just won his 4th championship.
Oh, okay. They did win?
Yeah, they end up winning. Look, my girl don't even know nothing about that shit.
LeBron did get his 4th.
He got his 4th ring. You know, I'm not big into the basketball, but I know the conversation is out there, right? People say, listen, that boy LeBron is better than Jordan, dog. It's just what it is. Then other people say, bro, he'll never be better than Jordan. He's got a long way to go. He's already failed himself by being in the game for so long and, you know, not doing as much championship-wise. But he got all the scoring titles. You know what I'm saying? He got all the extra shit. What do you feel about it? Tell me what your feelings are.
I'm not the biggest basketball fan, but I mean, Jordan, you know, was in our era. I mean, you know, you could say that LeBron is in our era too, because I mean, you know, we are still alive, we're kicking. You know what I'm saying? But you know, when you look at Jordan, honestly, and you look at LeBron, I really want to say that it's kind of hard to compare these two because it's really difficult to compare the mentalities of the two players, the teams that they had. Like we can't just we can't just throw the teams out. Like the teams just didn't matter. You know what I'm saying? Jordan had a good team. LeBron got a freaking phenomenal team now. You know what I'm saying? But these players and the mentality and the way the game is played is so different from that time period of Jordan to the time period now with LeBron. So I mean, exactly, effect dominating. It's So I mean, it's kind of it's kind of hard to compare them to. I want to, but it's really difficult to compare these two players. So
Okay. I mean, I can give you that. I can give you that. Damn, this pizza is good, dog. I know you can't eat pizza. I'm enjoying it for you, dog.
I see it. But don't
Kimi
worry,
will
though.
jump up through this damn
Get up outta here.
computer monitor and kill me.
Sunday, when some family drop down, I will give me some Slim Huskies. Support your good black businesses, folks. That is actually a really, really good pizza from brothers and sisters. All right, downtown. Don't miss it. And get you thinner rolls with that.
Damn, this shit
Mike can't
delicious.
even-
I might
he
have to
can't
do another
even
break,
just-
man.
He's like, oh my god, it's delicious. I can't get rid of his soup.
God.
He's tripping on the sauce.
Oh,
Tripping
hey,
on the
keep
sauce,
talking, my
tripping on
nigga.
the cheese and all that
Keep
stuff.
talking, my nigga. Keep talking. Shit delicious. Anyway, listen. Well, I know y'all. Man, this shit good. Hey, baby,
Yeah.
you got something I can throw? I can throw down in a cup.
Oh, see, now he getting on a cut while I'm over here drinking this Red Rock.
What you want?
I mean,
Juice or water?
you know I'm a juice. You know I like that juice box. You know I like that juice box,
Hold on
girl.
now. Whoa, we gotta keep it PG.
Have you drunk water today?
Hold on now, you might
Oh.
say box.
Huh?
People started equating it to WAP and they just started going all over the place with it.
Bro, you wouldn't know what to do with no WAP. Only WAP you know about is that WAP when I'm tearing your ass up.
Oh my goodness. He said they need to give us a promo. Yeah, they definitely need to give us a promo code. I need me a Slim Husky promo code.
All right. Anyway, listen. So we realized we can't compare. Damn, I had a goddamn puberty moment just then.
What?
My voice jumped up. But listen, you can't really compare those eras. But you know what we can? Look at that. We got the blue solo cup. Yeah. That's a special occasion right there. We can't really compare those two eras, right? Because there's so many differences. But there is an era that we can compare. And we can compare new school FGC players and old school FGC players, which is really the overarching subject matter we're going to be talking about here tonight. We're going to be talking about that old school versus new school. Which school is better? Whose legends were the best? If someone needs to surpass, or if they have surpassed, what was the defining line there? And, we're going to round it all up with, at the end of the day, the community. How do we push the community forward? So, first topic we're going to talk about is old school and new school. What do you define in your mind is the cutoff, or who would you say are the standouts of the new school?
So the standouts of the new school. Now I say standouts for a lot of the new school will probably be, being as we here in Atlanta and stuff. I would say, no, I wouldn't even say that.
I mean, even across the
US and
whole.
the globe and whatnot. New school competitive gamers probably I want to say came in around that time frame and era, probably 2000. I want to say 2012.
2012. Okay, so you
Actually,
taking it kind of far back.
nah, I can't say 2012. I would probably say 50. Is it? We say like 15 and 16 because that's normally when the Street Fighter Five era kind of came out to be. Because that was the newest of the latest gen
Okay,
titles.
so
Yeah, yeah,
all right, so about
2015, 2016.
2016, we
I'll
got
say like
2016.
you a new school gamer, or you a new school competitive player. If you came in around like the Street Fighter Five era, Tekken 7 era, that's 2015 and up. Most recent, that's definitely,
Okay,
yeah, you new school. You new, like you knew.
okay, okay, cool, cool, cool. Now, when we speak about this, we're not talking about if you played the game, but if you weren't in the competitive scene, um, and weren't, I won't even say not in the competitive scene, but like weren't really a shooting star in the competitive scene. Like you weren't rising to the occasion in the competitive scene at the time. I won't say you hadn't started, but if you went to a final round back in 2009 and got two and out, and then we ain't never seen you no more, and you ain't never played with nobody else. I mean, you're not an old school player because you went to one final round in your life. Um, it's more about consistency and being known to the community or the scene, as I like to call it. Um, so and these are opinions, so they're not hardline facts, but these just giving us some parameters to what we're talking about. So when you include from like 2016, 2017, 18, um, what notable players would you say first, just worldwide, would be your new school players that you think are
So
notable?
worldwide,
Damn, shit all
see,
over my
like
damn microphone.
that might be kind of a funny question because, like, for instance, in Street Fighter Four, you had, for example, like you didn't really see Knuckle do in the beginning of Street Fighter Four. Like we ain't see Knuckle do. Like I didn't really see Knuckle do until like uh man. I heard of Punk. Like it was funny. I had heard of Punk in Street Fighter Four, but he wasn't as big as he is until recently. But I mean, that was within that community. So Punk, I heard Punk. I think he was running a Ibuki maybe around that time, but that was like the later phase of Street Fighter Four. See what I'm saying? So that was like the 2012 model. That was the 2012, you know, so forth and blah blah blah. Um, Anakin effect is actually not a new school. Anakin, Joey, Shadow, Cuddle, they're actually not new school players. Anakin has actually been around for a long time. Joey's
No.
been around for quite a little bit of time too.
Oh yeah.
Shadow came around probably around, I want to say, the tag two era. Cuddle Core probably the same as well. So that was like the 2011. But your newer players around that time frame, like you didn't really see a lot of the stronger top players like they were playing in Street Fighter Five. I want to say until the later phase of Street Fighter Four. Like you didn't hear about, like, even here in Atlanta, when we had Ice Effect. Shout out to him, Nazi. I don't think he even plays the game anymore for Street Fighter Five. But um, you know, I've never seen him in Street Fighter Four. I was like, where was you at? You weren't around. But you had your Knuckle dude. He came around, the later phase. So that was like your 2012 Street Fighter Four on up. You know, Punk was probably around the 2012 phase Street Fighter Four. I mean, he might have been still playing the game since the game first came out, but he didn't necessarily recognized or known or popular outside of his own community until probably that 2012ish phase. So now in the Tekken scene, I jump back and forth, but like in the Tekken scene, 2000 in your tag two phase, of course that's when you had Speed Kicks come out. You know, Speed Kicks popped up. A new player. I think that was might have been his first competitive Tekken. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Landon, I'm not sure. Glaciating, I think Glacier might have popped around tag 2 era as well. But I only heard about Glacier until as of recent though. So, but of course you always had your margins. You always had yourself. You always had, the old school. But then, you had your newer faces that will pop up every year, as the game went on. So
All right, so it looks like what we'll have here is you have, depending on a game, where your era really begins. I feel like anybody that played Tag 2 competitively, because the game was out for so damn long, that you kind of are, if depending on where you came in Tag 2, really shifts the ball on if you are a new school or old school player. I kind of just throw anybody that was in Tag 2 into old school because it was so long. It was drawn out for so long that it was just like, all right, well, you're pretty much like, I would not consider Speed Kicks an old new school player, because Speed Kick's been playing with us for years, right? For years on years on years, right? He's making a name for himself for years, way before. So when I think about like new school players, I would probably say like current game, Street Fighter 5, Tekken 7 players. That's where I would probably put them in, and I'd say that's more on a, obviously, as you said, known outside of your own community, because you can't account for people inside the community. There's people that have been playing Tekken since before I was playing Tekken, that if y'all seen them, they would be a new person to you, right? So obviously got to take that into consideration. But when it comes down to Tekken and competitive play, I say I like to separate it just for the sake of conversation and parameters. I would say new school would probably be, your Street Fighter 5s, your Tekken 7s, your new versions of Guilty Gear, your new versions of Mortal Kombat. Since, I guess, 9, what are they on, 10? Are they on 11 now? So maybe new 10 and 11.
Kombat, new Dead or Alive.
Yeah, new Dead or Alive. Any of those people who came out in the era, I would say, dating after Street Fighter 5. Right? Because I think that was the first, maybe Mortal Kombat 10.
Yeah, 10 Street Fighter.
Did 10 come out before Street Fighter 5? I'm not exactly sure.
Time Street Fighter 5. Actually, no, 10 came out before Street Fighter 5.
Okay, so we'll give anybody coming in, anybody showing up before 10, at 10 or above, we'll probably call them all new school, right? With that being the case, it's like, all right, I think some of what we definitely have in Atlanta here, we definitely have an understanding of who's new school. So from here, obviously, almost anybody that's played Tekken 7 is a new school player. Almost anybody, if this is your first Tekken, it's undeniable that you're a new school player. What you may have done on your own, because I know a lot of them may have played Tag 2, but depending on, I would like to say like Rel, he's a good example, right? He's an in-betweener. Him, K-Dash, I think, also is an in-betweener. Where it's like, Rel used to play at the old Tekken house, but he really, I don't know if he was competing back then. I know he was playing, but I don't think he was competing, right? If he was, I don't remember nothing about him being in a tournament, but maybe he was. I don't know. I hated Tag 2, so I wasn't around on the scene. But if I was going to, I would probably put him like closer to old school, because I just think he's been playing. But I put him in a new school just to balance the scales enough, right? I would say Rel is a good new school representative, even though he kind of old school. I would say K-Dash, we put him in a new school. Obviously, Abstract, Pleasant Man. Pretty much anybody you see at 404 that ain't Chop is probably a new school player. Unless it's OG Saturday or something. You know, it's pretty much anybody you don't see. If you see Chop and maybe somebody Chop that look like they got the same hairline as Chop, then they probably your only old school players. True 404, old school ass player.
I mean,
I think to answer that question, Akimi, I don't think it helps you much. I've been playing Tekken since Tekken 1. That didn't help me the first time I met Wing Zero playing Tekken 4, and you know I never got a perfect put on me, and this fool was tearing my ass up on Tekken 4 because playing the game and playing the game competitively are completely different. You know, it's like doing home repairs and then going on a construction site. They're way different. They're completely different things you have to know, guidelines in which you have to abide by. You know, when you playing Tekken 1, folks had the health handicap all the way up to 150. You know, folks was cheating. You know what I'm saying? They was doing all kind of stuff, binding all the buttons when you couldn't bind buttons back in the day.
Hey, that was another
folks
thing,
was doing all kind of stuff.
Binding buttons was not a thing. Like, and the reason why, and I say that, is because you had a board that you couldn't bind no buttons on. If you had to play strict by the rule, which was by the board, and the board being the arcade board, you couldn't bind a button on the arcade board. So there was no you couldn't set 1 + 2, 2, 3, and 2, 4, and all kinds of shit on the buttons together. You know what I'm saying? They actually got on Fnatic and Marvel about that some time back. I remember that. So but that's either here nor there. Now button mapping is just all across the board. It's just people just do it.
Now, if we want to talk MJ versus LeBron, I think there's a very good argument to make, which leads us into... We're going to skip that, right? We're going to skip that. We're going to come back to that. Let's talk about median levels of gameplay, right?
Median levels.
In the median levels of gameplay, do you think the old school or new school and the intermediate players has the stronger competition overall?
I would say it's for back in the day the stronger competition, because first off, back in the day you had harder competition because there was more people who were actually killers and who had a craft. Like, they actually developed the craft, not necessarily just kind of saw something online, even though, like, you know, the access to things are faster now. If I want to go look up a tech shop, it ain't nothing for me to pull it up. But the median level players probably had it a little bit more difficult back then. Because if you had someone who was just dominating everybody back then.
Well, I think you're going... Do you think that those players back then, the intermediate level players, do you think they were better back then, or do you think the intermediate level players of today are better?
Honestly, and truth be told, the intermediate players are better today than they were back then. I think.
Yeah, I would agree with that second point. I definitely believe, because of the influx of information and availability, the person that is just a mid-level player, even like an upper mid-level player, like, I give you my idea of an upper mid-level player is maybe like a sour piggy, right? Or pepper beef too spicy. Those are players that are very good but they're not. I would not say I wouldn't expect to see them time and time again beating or winning tournaments, like winning majors, like them getting top 8, possibly
Pretty consistent
here and there.
same result, right?
But I would say they're what I would call top 16 players, right? They're probably always going to get top 16. Depending on the tournament, they're going to break top 8. And, maybe depending on what day it is, they may get top 3. Possibly win it. Because we did see, Sour Piggy? Who won Red Bull Conquest? I couldn't remember who won that. I want to say one of them did win it, but maybe Glaciating won it. Yeah, I think he was. So it's like they are good enough to win. But I think overall, when I think of like the scrubbiest of the scrubs, and I think of the best of the very best, they fit in the middle, right? They fit in the middle. Maybe higher on this end to the best. They're better than middle, like right? High. They're not middle. They're like mid-high. We'll call them like they're like A-tier players, right? They ain't SS and they ain't
Mr.
S.
Taxi.
But they like A-tier. Yeah, Mr. Taxi is another good example of that. I think the median level is definitely somebody. What we had back in the day versus what they have today. I mean, I would just even say in our community, right? Here in Atlanta, we have a lot of talent here. I think the median level of our talent, though, is probably better than what the median level was back in the day, right? It might be because we have more players, but I think it's because the access is better, right?
Yeah, I can say that.
The people I would consider maybe medium players back in the day might have been, I don't know if you remember this guy, but Ace Man. I don't know if you remember Ace Man. Ace Man would be like considered a median level player, right? Or a intermediate player where he might could beat you, but if you was of any skill, you'd probably tear his ass up. He probably didn't know none of the frames really, or knew very little about the frames. There wasn't videos to teach you stuff. So if you didn't just buckle down and get in there and learn shit, then you probably just gonna get beat. Like that was kind of the flaw of the old school mid-level player. A lot of people. He said, speaking of Ace, what about Ace Unlimited? Ace Unlimited he's an old school player. I think Ace Unlimited is probably, still he'd be up there with like Sour Piggy. Like he's a higher level intermediate player, a high mid player, right? Because when I think of high players, I'm thinking of like your JDCRs, your Arslan Ash, your Anakins, your Jimmy J Trans, your Joey Furies. We're talking about people that are consistently placing, all top 8s all the time, almost all the time. Like the only time you're not seeing them place top 8s is if there's just way more than 8 super killers, right? And that's just the thing. I think when it comes to the intermediate players, they're better for a couple reasons. Obviously, for the access to information, not having to really do a whole lot to get the information to be good. That's one thing I think that really helps them out. Another thing is game systems and mechanics. Games are deliberately designed nowadays to entertain. But in doing so, much like NFL, NBA, we know offense is what entertains people, right? Yeah, that's what sells tickets to the common person. That's what sells games to the common person. That's what drives people to play, the common people to play, right? Those intermediate level players, they want to get on and feel like they have a chance. And it provides that. The games provide that. They provide comeback mechanics. You know, people were super gross. I could beat people in Marvel 3. Marvel 2, even though I've never been beaten in Marvel 2, you know, I was not good in that shit. You know, nobody ever beat me in it, but I wasn't good in that shit. But Marvel 3, I probably could play somebody in that shit. You give me you give me a month of playing that shit. Even with my sorry ass team, I could compete with people that was doing, you know, it's like I might not beat you, but I can compete with you. Yeah, Hulk with the X Factor, slap a full whole team going, right? You know, yeah, Dark Phoenix running through the whole team. You take that to like Street Fighter, where you know they giving folks V triggers and everybody combos is about the same. It's no hard execution. It's almost like you playing Darkstalkers or something. I mean,
the big thing that I heard with
folks.
Them is the problem that you're not fighting just one character in Street Fighter. Like when that person gets a V trigger, immediately he turns into another character. Like, you know, my favorite character, Bison. You think you fighting one Bison, then this fool just turns into Shin Bison level 2. Then got 8 stars on the difficulty, and just turn the whole match around. Now you fighting somebody completely different. That was the problem. You know, I was talking with a lot of people when it comes to that. So, hey, best comeback sells them seats.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's, you know, that is just one of the things that also brings up the level of players, right? Because even if you're really good, you can only do so much to the system, right? Like, if I'm very good at the game and you're not as good as me, but the system makes up for the fact that you're maybe not as good as me, then I'll probably still beat you more times than not, but you might be able to beat me. Whereas in another scenario, you might not ever get no games on me. You know, not me personally, but a player of a certain caliber. You might not ever have gotten no games on Nee. But you could get a game on Nee now, because Nee got to worry about all the same shit everybody else got to worry about, right? Now he's superhuman when it comes to that Tekken shit, so we're gonna talk about that later. But for the most part, I think I would definitely give that to the new school. New school definitely is a higher median level or intermediate level of players. I think it far surpasses old school, just because of work ethic and desire that you would have had to have to even be intermediate back in the day, right? Most people just didn't have time to do that shit. They didn't have that information, and they really definitely weren't even interested. Like, if you was a Tekken player or Street Fighter player back in the day, and you were of any skill level, I would almost say most people was either ridiculous or horrible. Like, that kind of was
the leading factors. You was one or the other.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, you had some people in the middle, but they were probably either going to quit pretty soon, or they was about to be some of the grossest people you ever seen play the game. You really didn't have the intermediate level last too long. I think that was one of the other things that puts the intermediate level players far above the old school players in that regard, is that they just didn't last long, right? They just didn't have it in them, unless they had it all the way in them, right? But with that being said, let's talk about the higher levels, right?
Oh yeah, here we go.
What the hell Praline got on? She gonna come.
Got the cat with the Bowser suit.
Halloween costume.
Oh, that's
She's
a dinosaur suit.
dinosaur. She hates it.
Praline gonna kill us. Oh, appreciate that follow. I can't see who it is. Let me see if I see who it is. Oh, I can see it on my phone, I think.
I'm afraid of the new school.
Hey, bro, do not be coughing on me, dog. You know what I'm saying? I gotta go to work in the morning. Flash Carter, thanks for the follow. Listen. Let's talk about these higher level players, right? Now, when it comes to the higher levels, do you think that the old school or the new school had better, higher level players?
Like in terms of like more, like more.
Not more. I mean the quality of the high level players.
Mm, honestly, with that old school.
To give you look, to give you a reference, right? We came here to talk about MJ versus LeBron. I think when we look at old school MJ, we could say Justin Wong.
At that time, I was like, yeah, he
And
definitely would
your
be
new
like Justin Wong. Yeah.
LeBron would be like Sonic Fox. These are two players that dominated various games over times, right? Where, hey, you could come jump in the Iceman. You see, you got an extra window, bro. I just thought you was at work, but let me know. I'll throw you in here, bro. You just let me know if you're trying to get in. I do think you have good comparisons here, right? Because you have players that I think in the past, I personally would give it to old school, even without me of being old school, because I think the way they got good led to them being far better than the way a lot of new school, like what I would call new school G's, the way they've gotten good, most of them did not take the route of, I'm going to learn this shit all by myself for the most part, right? Somebody's going to teach me a little bit here and there, but for the most part, I'm going to hunker down and make this game be the focal point of a good portion of my life, right? Like, people was dedicating their life to being good back in the day.
I told you about
I
the
know
same
Brian
thing
Hart
with
just
the
came.
whole Daigo factor, like the people who were of that time frame. Like the reason why, for example, then folks out there that may not know, if you really look at this, for example, who has beaten Daigo in his own set? Like I'm talking about, like we're not talking about a tournament, 2 out of 3, 3 out of 5. No, we're talking about like a first to 10, first to 15, first to 25. Like this man just literally, like every person that was probably an Evo champ that has ran to face this dude in Street Fighter, like this dude was just some kind of monstrosity that when you met him at the top of that mountain with that #2 headband, he was about to knock your head off. Like he was just gonna knock your head off. Had that man, shout out to Tokido, had that man, with the sniffles, had that man's infiltration, sweating and blinking. He couldn't even control himself. You know what I'm saying? You know,
Had to go home and put hands on. I ain't even gonna do it
but
to him. I ain't gonna do it to him.
everybody that just went
I ain't
up there,
gonna do
that
it to
just got they just got their head knocked off, and that man was just literally a force to like reckon with. But like that was the old school like OG player. Like that was that person, like the person who was at the highest of the highest though. Not anyone that was in the median or at the who was the scrubbiest of the scrubbiest. Now this person that put like hours and hours and hours into a craft and years.
Years. We're talking about
They put that
months,
shit into
years,
craft. Like it was like
decades
he was the
for
one
some
that
people.
basically guaranteed to say, hey, I got stacks to say if it was a single man elimination, I'll put 5 racks on it. So, but
Yeah.
and then also Mike as well. I mean, people do still play for money, competition and stuff like that do bring the hype. But I think that's a big factor in what's a big motivator to people and what kind of helps them get along to that different kind of level. So that's a different kind of mentality. People use that. But
We're gonna get to the mentality after this. But I would agree that the old school G's or legends of the yesteryear, I feel like, unlike MJ versus LeBron, our eras actually do play each other, right? They actually do cross, right? Obviously, there are differences, but we talked about that in the last section where there are differences where those players that are considered good now, there's a harder case. Like you always hear him make that back and forth. I don't know if Jordan was in this league where you could do this and that, he'd really be tearing their ass up. Or if LeBron was back in that league, maybe he couldn't do shit. But maybe he could be tearing their ass up. We don't really know. In this situation, we have something that is similar but uniquely different, right? We have a situation where the old school players are able to play the new school games and use old school tactics to play the new school games. But the new school games do have advantages built into them that you can't discredit, and it's hard to really say. Like, okay, if you didn't have rage arts, rage drives, let's talk about Tekken 7, right? If you didn't have rage arts, rage drives, even though he's an old school player, give him he's a great example, right? How many times would Shola have beaten you if he was not mashing the rage art button? Now I know he used to play he played other Tekkens, but this is just an example, right? He is known for killing people by hitting you with the rage art. Like, oh, you was about to kill him, he mashed rage art, and what would have been a counter hit in almost any other situation prior to this game, you got hit by a rage art. Now, some would argue, well, that's part of the mechanics. If you're really good, you would know not to get hit by that. Other people would argue, well, if you didn't have that to crutch on, you would have had to stand here and eat this mix-up and probably would have died. You know, so that's kind of where it's a little iffy, right? But I do think, like, in most cases, the legends of the yesteryear, what gives them the bonus is their mentality, which we're going to talk about. I think that most of those players that are legends of the yesteryear are either still the best players of the current year or can compete with some of the best players of the current year. And that's why I would probably always give it to him. I don't really know. Like when I say Sonic Fox versus Justin Wong. Sonic Fox, as far as I know, he is beating a lot of people, but he always beat people with the cheapest team possible. Like the cheapest character possible, the cheapest team. He is a master at using the loopholes in the mechanics of the game to his advantage, which you can't really hate on that, right? That's something that most people is a part of the game. He's very good at exploiting those things to a point where, you know, a lot of people can't even touch him, right? But we've seen somebody like Justin Wong take on some of the best in games and beat him with like low tier characters because his understanding of the game was cultivated in a way that did not rely on the system of the game to cheat you out. Now, don't get me wrong. That motherfucker was back there. He was cheating back in the day. Don't get me wrong. The nigga was cheating. MSP is a thing in Marvel too because that nigga was cheating. All right. But you know what? He also made Cyclops a good team.
He made a whole low tier team for a specific reason. But then I also had to think about it as well. I was like, well, a lot of people, even in that time frame, but I mean, a lot of those people will kind of come in between, of course, being they weren't necessarily the highest ranking players at the time, but they also used some of the stronger players of the game, you know. I mean, you had people who were using, you know, Street Fighter Super Turbo SF2 version Sagat or old Sagat, who hit you with a DP 40%, you know, you lost your life. Boom. You know, got caught with that. That could use the thing. But the thing is that a lot of those people who knew the game though, they didn't have to rely on that, you know, that one character. They're like, oh, well, I know how to play multiple people, and I get hit with this a couple times too. and started straight. And they're like, "Hey, well, why do you have three characters? Well, three characters is well, these are three characters that one person like got good with in those situations, you know, and basically flourished. John Choi, West Coast player, playing with, he played with Sagat, but he was a Ryu player, but he could play Sagat, the same thing. Jimmy J Trent was like, "Hey, Wong, you don't really play the Street Fighter. Let me show you how to play the Street Fighter. I'm gonna play with some other lower tier characters, you know, and show you how to work them. You know, case point and scenario. So it's like, yeah, the difference that you do have with the Wongs and Sonic Fox, Sonic Fox being has a good sight, I would say, for stronger characters, that kind of do, help them a little leeway, give them just a little bit. I won't take it from them. I definitely don't want discredit them, but you got to think as well. Okay, these characters also use the system to, its fullest. It's like
It's true.
pretty much like a car analogy. I mean, you want the best of the V8s. You're gonna get your Mustangs. You're gonna get your Hemis. You're gonna, whatnot for all you car people. You're gonna get your SRT. You're gonna get the best version of that V8 out there. You know, character Zafina when he plays in Tekken. Character utilizes all of the tools in Tekken. For Tekken 7, plays Tekken 7 phenomenally well. I don't know about Tag. I don't know about Tag 2. I don't know about T6. So forth and so forth. So, but yeah, case in point.
Okay. Well, listen, that leads us to the mentality. And I think this is the driving factor that really sets the two eras apart, or the two levels of play apart, right? In my mind, I think the mentality that was that derived from old school players was a lot more based on hustle, necessity, actual, I would say like an actual genuine interest, and real deep rooted competitive nature. You come from the old school. Old school was, a lot of it was based in the arcades, right? Well, arcades, you don't have a practice session, right? You don't get to practice stuff. So, in some regards, you could say, well, that may have helped some people. But it actually made it difficult because you did not get to practice. You had to learn on the fly, which made your adaptation skills have to skyrocket, right? Not only that, you was paying to play every game. Every game counted. So because every game counted, you were never doing stuff that was not good. You were always trying to use the best tactics. You were always trying to understand, how does the game actually work? Because if I understand how the game actually works, and I'm not just doing what I want to do while playing this game, I can probably find a way to really get good at this, right? And then when things would come home to home consoles and people would have practice modes and stuff, you didn't have an assortment of videos telling you like, oh, if you run over there and do low medium, that shit'll duck under fireballs. Or if you got Blanca and you do the slide, it'll slide up under fireballs and you could trip somebody. You just had to figure that out. You either had to figure it out while playing somebody, or you had to go in practice mode and just learn this stuff.
Win or stay on mentality, I mean, you ain't want to lose them quarters, man. You had $20. I mean, $20 was a lot back then. You ain't trying to lose. Trust me.
Yeah.
You slap your quarter on that machine and you getting busy, and somebody come up and be like, yo, I got next, and they slap their quarter on there and they trying to get busy too. You trying to stay on there. You're not trying to lose that money. So yeah, you gonna run your own tactics. And then on top of that,
exactly.
And that was the same thing. That's how you had to figure out what was plus and what was like negative, back in the day. That's why a lot of people didn't know frames like that. They kind of knew them, but they didn't know them. Right.
They didn't know exact numbers. They understood, okay, if I kick here and I try to press a button. He pressed this light quick button. This shit is gonna beat me out. I don't know the frames, but I understand the game won't allow me to do that shit.
You had to practice. What you had to do, honestly, what I had to do
was practice everybody
but
at all times.
I had to go to the arcade before other people got there. I had to pop my quarters in, and I had to just run a little session, and with a little pencil and a piece of paper. You know, me being in high school, I had to run over to Arbor Place Mall. You know, practice my stuff
right here.
You know, before them boys got there, because I knew that when they came, they was gonna be tearing my ass up left and right, because they already knew stuff about the game. And they had already been watching forum videos on, what it was like, okay, all right, well, people share information from the forums. They're like, oh, a dude out in California tried this move out. I'm gonna go test it at my local arcade. So you go test it out. That's what you did.
I do think that the mentality that, like I said, because of why they played the game, why they desired to be good, right? I can tell y'all about me, right? One of the 2 years that I got in the grand finals at final round. I think the first year I didn't have no job. I had to win that money, or I would not have been. We wouldn't have had a place to live. It was been me, Wing Zero, Big Boy. We would have been out in the road if I did not win that money. So my grind to get good stemmed from not just me wanting to be good, but I had to be good. I had to go to tournaments and get well, place well, basically gamble 10 and try to make 50. I had to. You know what I'm saying? Because it was just like, it was a desire, was not just playing the game. I feel like what you run into a lot today, and I feel like this especially in our own community, is people that want to get good for the clout of being good and don't really care about being actually very good and well versed in the game. They may say they want to. I think a lot of players say that's what they want, but because up to the point and level at where they are, they hadn't had to work for it that much. Case in point is one of the reasons I have the school coming up, right? The investment level, I think, for a player now to get to an intermediate level where they can possibly win a couple games, maybe even feel like they can go back and forth with somebody who's better than them. I think that a lot of people get into that level and they're satisfied, because at the end of the day, they want to be able to beat somebody, right? I just want to be able to beat who's the best around me in a situation that is meaningful to me. And I don't really care if I'm actually good at the game. It don't really matter if I'm good at the game if I could beat somebody. And I think that's a mentality that holds people back. Like a great example is, let's say JDCR, and I think he was fighting Ace Unlimited, right? No, not Ace Unlimited. He fought Luke Skywalker. What's the nigga's name? Luke Flywalker? Young Skywalker. That's his name. Young Skywalker, right? Down from Florida. Shout out to Young Skywalker. Raven player. He was CEO. I think he played Book. That's who he was playing. Book. Now, he almost beat Book, right? The thing is this. If he would have beat Book in that CEO, he probably would have got all kind of praises, all kind of this, that, and the third. But then the question would, where I think a lot of new school players get hung up on these wins, it's like, okay, we'll say even like here in Atlanta, people beat Chop in 404, and it's probably like, it's like a notch on the belt, right? It's like, yeah, I did that. But it's like, okay, well, you did that. That's cool. Proud of you making those strides. Do you know how you won? Can you replicate that? can you beat somebody else playing this character, or do you just know how to fight one person who plays the character? That is something that I think a lot of people fall short on. A lot of people fall short on this. I think I'm recording. I'm not exactly sure, but sorry about that,
It's
man.
funny that you said that too, because I was like, who was it? It was like Joel in Street Fighter, which is funny. Joel was like, "Man, you shouldn't be losing to no Ryus." I said, "Joe, I was like, yo, JTO, John, and I think a couple of people, whatever." It was like, "Well, I don't lose nobody to Ryu but you." And I was like, "Huh, that's funny." And I was like, "So, the fact that you can beat Joel, like pretty much like Joel's, just he was getting top 8 pretty consistently in Street Fighter 4. So shout out to Joel. Joel is a strong player here in the ATL scene." And it was like, yo, the fact of the matter is that his Ryu was so strong. It's like if I went out and I fought everybody's king. I fought Majin's king, Brawl Pro's king, everybody else king. I'm like, man, the only king that's giving me trouble is Mike's. It's the only king that's giving me trouble. So I feel like that right there should be like that's a ground.
I do think, well, I think that one of the things about that is, see, people. Okay, here's a thing from the old school, right? When you went to a tournament in the old school game, this is why the best of the best back then continued to be the best of the best for long periods of time after being the best of the best in their own era. And the reason is because adaptability, which is one of the strongest aspects of the fighting game genre, if you want to be successful, that having that adaptability was required because you never knew what somebody could bring to the table. Like right now, due to streaming, due to YouTube and various other platforms, pretty much there are no stones unturned. Like, because of the chase for clout, people putting all their tech out, right? For this, for the hope, maybe even for helping the community grow. People putting all the tech out. Nothing's wrong with that. I think it brings more people in, gives you more competition to deal with. It makes your competition maybe more honest because everybody knows everything. But the problem is it creates a situation where people only know what you give them. And they don't know how to get any better than what somebody told them on a video. They don't have the certain drive and hunger that they're going to go the extra mile. They're going to do things to get better that like right now, it would probably be hard to get. I'll even say I know this to be the case. It was hard to get people to come to Tekken House and play in Tekken House because it was just far for them to come, right? It's like, okay, I get that. That's reasonable. You don't want to drive a long ass way, come all the way over here, and maybe play 2 games, or maybe play somebody that you could have played online where you was at, right? That makes sense. But there's a difference because there is a time where people would have came from a whole nother state to come play and learn and go back and come back from another state and play and learn and go back, or come from another city and play and learn and come back. Those people were dedicated. Now you may say, well, the game ain't that important to me to be doing all that shit, which is understandable, but it also will be what stagnates you, right? It's going to be what stagnates you. You can get good on your own. It's just very, very difficult, and you're going to reach roadblocks that if you don't you can only absorb so much information without being able to physically apply it right in front of you in real time. And I think that's something that the old school players, they got that advantage. You know, you're going to a tournament and not knowing. I always tell people about this, and if you check out the podcast, you can hear some of these stories. But I was telling about Sims and how he was really gross with Eddie because he had a whole bunch of traps with Eddie that ain't nobody ever seen before. You know, the same thing applies. It's like, if I went to a tournament, I just had to be very fundamentally sound, because if I fuck up and, you know, stick a limb out there and you launch me, who knows what kind of gimmicks you got if I tech roll or if I stay on the ground. I might stay on the ground and get infinite. You know, get an infinite put on me. I might tech roll and get a full life combo put on me. You just never know. So you just had to try to play so fundamentally sound that you would never get put in a bad situation, made you a better player overall, right? And that's in any game. You know, even in Street Fighter. I would agree, like, if I didn't know what was about to happen, I had to understand, like, let me understand how to keep your ass the fuck away, because I don't want you jumping in here and mixing me up and getting me up out of there. So I really think that that's what really sets the two apart. Anything you see about the new school mentality that you've noticed versus maybe the old school mentalities?
I want to say that definitely sets it apart. But I mean, that's your go getters though. Those are your go getters. Those are going to be the ones that's going to set it apart. Those are going to be the ones that say, hey, you want to learn this tech and shit, or do you want to just want to beat somebody and just call it, just call it a day? And I mean, a lot of players, I feel like a lot of people, especially now, it's instant gratification. It's very instant gratification. You know, I mean, you live in a world full of access, and the faster the access, the better. So, you want somebody to want to pull up a YouTube link, you want to pull up a video, you want to pull up a site. You need that instant gratification. You need this, this instant win. Okay, well, tell me how to beat Chop. Tell me how to do this. I want to know how to do that. I want to do it all the way you did it. And it's like, okay, well, you can't do the same things that I do because you don't understand the situation. It's like, I think I said to somebody some years ago. He's like, well, because I want to be able to do this, and he's like, man, you're king. I want to be able to do this. I was like, well, my king. I was like, wait a minute, hold on. I was like, wait a minute, exactly.
Your king?
I was like, well, what you're not realizing?
I was about to say,
at the time,
yo king? They was
at the time,
hold up. They was worried about yo king?
They had never known about your king. But at the time, when I didn't even exactly.
But your king?
I was like, wait a minute. I'm only doing the same adaptation as the way MIC is doing because I'm learning from him. But this is a decade ago. I was like, I was like, hey, I'm only doing what this is. 2-1 setup, this, that, and
100
blah,
for
blah,
the
blah.
round.
Whoa, who came through?
I was like, I'm only doing this because I was doing
Yes,
that.
who
blah,
came
blah, blah.
through with that?
Until
That man, Subtle Puddle with the $100. Whoa, Subtle Puddle with the big, maybe that might have been a typo, player. What is that? Let me, hold up. Wait a minute, that didn't say $100. Am I tripping? Did that say $100? Cause that would have looked like my boy Subtle Puddle came in through, had the paycheck on that thing. You know what I'm saying? Ain't playing with him. I have to make him an honoree. You know what I'm saying? We got to put him on a website. All right, what's going on with you, player? Subtle Puddle, we putting you on the website, player. You know what? We're going to put that on season 3. We putting that on season 3 right there, dog. That's going on season 3. Let's get back to it. We're going to let you talk because you was talking crazy about somebody was scared of Yo King? Come on, bro. Yo King?
That man, at the time, it was, Purple Fish, Asian Low. And I was like, no, man, no. No, don't shout it out to me. Don't shout it out to me, man. I was like, look, man, if y'all wanna get better, y'all need to go over here. I need to go over here, man. And they was like, oh man, all right, I need to do that jump, man. I need to do that.
And again, anybody losing to your king,
Hey,
don't send them my way. Don't send them my
doing
way.
invitation. I was like, hey, listen, it don't go to me. It don't go to me at all. I said, look, I'm doing.
You damn right.
Guys has been showing me.
You damn right.
That's what I was doing. I said, go to him. You want to learn it.
Master get drilled? Uh-oh, what the hell's going on over here? Damn, that boy Subtle Puddle popped up in your place, bro. What? Hold on, what happened to you, dog? Nigga Subtle Puddle took over the whole stream. There we go.
Somebody got some money.
Alright, listen, bro. At the end of the day, I do feel like it is much. I think that there is a definite desire to be good amongst the younger guys. I call them the younger guys, but obviously we not taught. They don't necessarily have to be younger. How do I get this shit off my damn screen? I can't even get the shit off my screen. But anyway, what is this? Oh, it's a whole nother damn window. That's why I couldn't get off of there.
Boss is right here. We right here, baby. Right here. Hey man, listen.
Nobody wants to see you, dog.
Let the soul glow.
Nobody wants to see you.
Fro.
I'm sorry, bro.
Big fro time.
Nobody wants to see you, bro. Shout out my boy Melon Ball. What's going on with your player? Listen. I think when it comes down to it, when it comes to that mentality, it definitely leads into our next topic, which is, what do you think it will take for the newer school to surpass the old school players? Short of all the old school players retiring and or dying, okay? What is going to be the situation that propels them into that area where they can take the realms, take the helm of the competitive spirit and nature and really run with it, right? I feel like they just, even the best of the best new school players, shy. I mean, I like to say like Pakistan, but we just don't know. We don't know what Pakistan been doing, because who been playing Pakistan? They just ain't been on the world scene, but they probably been playing Tekken. This is like they've been playing Tekken.
King J was talking about over in, was it East Africa? That was playing Tekken. They had a strong scene. Small, but it was strong scene.
Yeah, so it's excluding stuff like that, like the Arslan Ash, because he would technically be a new school legend, but I think he's just a new school legend because nobody went to Pakistan and played. I think he might be an old school player, like he probably has been around in his scene for a long time. I might could give him new school just to give him somebody. I would say
maybe tag 2 days.
But I think
that's my guesstimate, though. That's my guesstimate. I wouldn't put it past him that he probably came in on tag 2 days. If I had to guess, put my money on Black Haze,
but,
I'm saying? Roll the dice.
I think outside of that, I think the good players that are here will speak on in the United States, since that's where we're at. I think for them to get on a level where they are as good or consistently better than the old school legends that are still active, it's going to take a drive and a shift in mentality. I think a lot of the better players that we have that are newer, they are good because of the games that they are playing, and not always because of what they are doing, what they are bringing to the game, right? Like a person I would give, these are some names that I think that are new school players that I say have the caliber of skill to put them in that upper tier, right? Glaciating. Even if he was in Brown and Tag 2, I only heard about him in Tekken 7. So I'm going to give him glaciating, young guy. What's his name? Lee Xiaolong? Not Lee Xiaolong. Free Xiaolong. I think that might be his name. I think he might be out of Texas, maybe. He's another person I saw who's got he has very good fundamentals to the point where I think he could be a major problem for anybody.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he probably has that, he or she, I really don't even know if it's a dude or a girl, but they have that potential to be up there and probably consistently do well against people like the Anakins, like the Jimmy J. Trans, like the Joey Furies, like the Lil Majins. I think these are all people that have established themselves over time. A lot of people don't, a lot of people, they run into Anakin's name and, they think he's a new school player. I think somebody even in the chat was like, they try to claim him as a new school player, even though they know he's been around.
I think they're saying because he was young. He's like real young.
Yeah, he just was real young when he started. But, I don't foresee anybody getting to that level anytime soon with that kind of consistency. Because to get where he is currently, he had to play the game and understand the game for like 10, 15 years of playing the game. Like, he might be 30 years, close to 30 years old right now. He was playing since he was like 11 or 14. So, that's like everybody else that's been playing. Joey Fury, I know Joey Fury wasn't that great back in Tekken 5, but he been playing since way back then. The people that you always see on top, Lil Majin been playing since T4, T5. Spirogen been playing since probably T4, T5. Me, I've been playing since way back then. Even though I'm not, I guess I can't throw myself in there because I'm not in the tournaments like that no more. But you'll still get your ass whooped. A lot of the players, Jimmy J. Tran, way back in the day, there are a lot of hidden killers that I think that all they would have to do is just have a desire to play the game and they'd be right back on top. For the most part, I feel like life gets in the way of most of the old school players, especially in Tekken. Maybe not so much in other games, but I know so in Tekken, where life is the determining factor of why the scene ain't still being ran by the same people over and over again.
Big case.
Big
case.
You said big case.
Hey man, I mean, life kind of hits people differently. You know what I'm saying? Like, like I told Richard, I was like, hey Richard, I'm a juggle T6 and Street Fighter. He said, all right, man, that's kind of difficult, but he's like, I know you don't know nothing about Tekken. He's like, I know you know something about Street Fighter, but nothing about Tekken. I said, nah, man, I'm a juggle to both of them. And I mean, so forth. Life happens. And I was like, well, it gets a little rough to when you get a little older. I might look young, you know what I'm saying?
You don't. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about a thing.
I ain't that young. But, all the younger players, when they have most of the time to invest, should invest if it's something that's a passion. Like definitely invest your time into it and wisely. But I mean, like, it's definitely a lot of kills. Like I was playing somebody, what's his name? Limit 47. And I was like, you had to talk with him. And I didn't know that he was a older cat, but I was like, this dude was one of the stronger Hachis I've ever played. And I was like, man, that's just ridiculous. Ridiculous. But, he was like, nah, I fought Rickster, blah, 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 back in original T7, tag 2. But you wouldn't have known that, these people are just unknown. They just kind of come up. You're like, oh, well, these folks have kind of been around. Your Arsenal Ash, like I said, he might have been around. Roll the dice. He might have been around since tag 2.
Might have been around since 5. We don't even know.
So,
I mean, I can always kind of, The one thing I could talk about from my own personal experience is at KIT when I beat Joey Fury, and everybody knew who this was. It was like, oh yeah, it's Joey Fury. The only people knew me was the people that came on this stream that knew me, or the people that were super old school that knew who I was. They weren't surprised to see that I was able to beat Joey in the tournament. You know, they also weren't surprised to know that when he came and did a money match with me, that I was able to beat him in the money match. And it was not a very big surprise because those people knew I had been playing the game for a long time, right? I probably was good back when he wasn't good. Now he is way better than probably I'll be anytime soon because I just don't have the dedication no more, you know what I'm saying? But y'all will still get this work, okay? Don't worry about it. Don't worry about a thing, all right? But with that being the case, you know, to your point, there are a lot of silent killers that's what I mean about the people back in the day. The reason they can come and still be very good, even like me personally, I do pretty well versus all the new players in Atlanta, right? I ain't went to a tournament in definitely like a year. I ain't been to a tournament. Even prior to COVID, I hadn't been to a tournament in a long ass time, other than DreamHack. That was the last tournament I was in, right? Yeah, so it's like, you know, outside of that, it's like if you took somebody who hadn't played in a year and from the old school and put them up against somebody who played every day from the new school of that time, they was probably going to get toe up. Right now, because of the lack of investment I feel like new school players have to put in to get to a desirable level, right? Because most people just want to be able to know how the game works a little bit, you know, on its basics functions, be able to win a tournament, not go 0-2, maybe place in their local tournament, and maybe beat the best person in their scene, neighborhood king one time, right? At least once or twice. That's kind of the mentality I feel a lot of people have. Mm-hmm. I don't think that a lot of people have the desire to actually be the best. You know, regardless of anything else, I can't take away from the fact that Anakin wants to be the best. He always wanted to be the best. He's put work into wanting to be the best, and therefore he is at least the best on local land, right? He's the best in our country at this game that is out there, at least. You know, it was a time where it was questionable between him and Jimmy J, but I think maybe he may be like slightly up there above him, you know. Obviously they got two different styles. They might be neck and neck, but I would give it to him because I think he could do the same thing with multiple characters that Jimmy can do with one character, which might be what slides him, what slides him above. But that's a certain type of drive that I'm not sure many new players have really in any game. You know, I think a lot of them rely on the game being cheap, well, not cheap, cheesy, or helping them out, right? The mechanics helping them out. And because of that, and because of getting secondhand knowledge, there's very few people that will ever reach that level to be like, oh, you know what? I'm going to reach that top level of consistent, good gameplay. With that being said, how do you think we can bring this all together and, those OGs and younger players, how can they come mesh together to propel them? Because I think what most of the OGs want to do, I know for myself personally, I want to put them on my shoulders so they can see further than I ever could see.
I feel like that's kind of an easy question. And that kind of stems and derives from a lot of the times when I talk to a lot of younger players. Um, to be honest, man, the first and foremost, you got to be able to listen. I mean, that's just it. That sounds easy, but you got to remember that a lot of people, especially young-minded people, they don't want to take advice from people that they don't see that are getting the results. But it's like, I was like, well, I can use myself as an example. I was like, well, I may not have a lot of belts on me, but the people that I am around,
I don't know.
oh, no, 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 we
I
ain't
put
gonna
some
get,
belts on you, nigga. Gave you
nah,
many a
nah.
whoopings, all right?
But you gotta be able to take advice from people who actually, who may know something about the game that you just don't know. And I mean, when for case point example, I was talking to Richie and I was helping him fight Incog, and I gave him some advice, and I was like, "Yo, why are you fighting him in his zone? He's just gonna tear your ass all the way up. Saturday Night Live that ass." And then he changed up the strat, and I was like, "Well, fight him in zone or space two." I said, "Your character your character's better built for it. Better built for it." I said, "I'm just calling it like I see it. I'm just looking at it, Richie, and this is what I tell you. Instant, instant results." He's like, "Oh man, this is a big change." So you got to be able to listen. You got to be able to listen. You got to be able to take criticism. Like what people are trying to tell you is not something that's bad for you. They, just listen to what they got to say. When you hear somebody old school that try to tell you something, he's like, "Oh man, I beat this man. I beat this man. Oh man, Chop, I beat this man. Chop, nah man, that man old news, man. Get him out of here. Blah blah blah." Nah, listen to what he got to tell you. And, it might actually help your gameplay a lot. And the way that'll help, and another factor is the same thing when I tell gangs done. I was like, well, Los, the old Tekkens aren't being played anymore. But you gotta understand that this game is built off legacy. It's still built off legacy. No matter how stupid crazy this game gets, it's still built on the fundamentals of a legacy game. So it's always gonna work like a legacy game. So that being said, you need to take the information from what your predecessors are saying and build your own style of being able to adapt off of that. Take what Chop gives you, take what MIC gives you, take what Oath gives you. Shout out to Oath. Take what Dez gives you, take what Geo gives you, take what all of them do. They're telling it to you for a reason. Take that and basically don't say nothing. Just hold your lip, marinate on it, and keep it pushing. You'll be able to learn something. It'll click to you one day. It'll just click. You know.
Yeah. And I think on the other hand, on the other end of the spectrum, OGs have to be willing to humble themselves enough to understand, to be like, listen, I can't do this shit forever. I know me personally, I don't even want to do this shit forever. I want to be a background. I want to be a shadow. I want to turn into Shola. You know what I'm saying? Put me in the dark. All right? I just want to follow you around and, suck up the sunshine. But at the end of the day, it's like, you got to be, as an older player, and this is in any game, you got to actually have the desire to want to see somebody be better than you. That's a hard one, right? That's a hard one. That's why the yeah, that's why the MJ LeBron argument is such a big deal, right? Because there are plenty of good arguments to say LeBron is probably the best basketball player that ever played, but there's a lot of arguments to say that he ain't, right? Obviously, it's a lot different because of the way that game works and the way those systems work, but You know, like any great person. Oh, who is that? Who is that? Oh, that boy Truth coming through with the hairline. Um,
Nobody wants to be the best in this trash-ass Tekken 7. When is the new ship coming?
True, what the hell?
it'll be here soon enough, bro. We're gonna send it to you with a Bosley pack. All right, but you know, I think when it comes down to it, it's like you guys just have the will to want to see somebody else grow, right? Like I said, I always want people to be better. You know, I open this school because I want people to actually be better. You know, I make them pay for it, so they're invested. So maybe they'll actually listen. You know, when this knowledge has been out here for free for forever, right? And people still doing the same shit they've been doing for 2 years. And it's like, okay, you're just better at doing the same shit you've been doing. You're not really learning because your mindset, maybe your mindset, you haven't been equipped with it. Or maybe the way you're looking at the game, you know, you might be content with your results. But it takes for somebody from the older school, somebody with more knowledge, and this isn't anything but pertaining to the game itself, you have to be willing to put yourself to the side, right? Me currently, I'm not an active player, right? I play people, but I'm not an active player. There's no reason I can't teach people that I see playing actively to be the best versions that they can be. And then they can go, I can send them out as my representative. That's what I look to do. You know, you got somebody like Anakin. Well, Anakin, he's still very active. Chop, still very active. But they'll still teach you something. Because, you know, whether or not you may want to believe it, they're part of a community, right? You know, so it's like everybody wants to see the community uphold a legacy. So I do think that that's where the ends have to meet. The newer players have to concede to the fact that they don't know as much as they think they know. They have to have more drive than to just simply beat somebody and be content with beating somebody once or twice, or even if they're beating somebody 10 times, can they beat somebody else that is not that person? You know, those are things that people really need to hone in on. They need to really focus on that. If this is something they want to do, they have to also decide why are you even playing this game? You know, are you playing it to be casually good and be able to kind of enter tournaments, or are you playing to be the best? Because those are two different mindsets, and they will get you two different places.
That is very true. I can tell you right now, the one of the reasons that if this don't stick with you, I don't think this will ever. Well, I don't want to say it won't ever, but just hear me out for a second. If someone beats you so bad, and your reaction to it is, man, you know what? I don't never want to lose to that situation ever again. I don't never want to lose to this person ever again. So you know what, man? That jump, and it hurt. Like, let it hurt. That to me is what sticks. That to me, honestly, I don't see that a lot nowadays. Honestly, I really don't see it a lot. But when I was younger, and I had people come in there, everybody
and lighter in skin,
and they had
and less on the scale.
I was so pissed that I got the shit beat out of me. I went home. I was like, man, them niggas don't do that to me no more, man.
Still continuing to do it.
But that right there, that honestly right there, and that's what I was trying to tell. I told that to Scott. I was like, Scott, I said, man, when somebody, I know you can't really do it like that, you know, nowadays, because we ain't gonna say that on the stream, but you know, if that junk don't burn to make you want to get better, I don't know what will, because that's what did it for me. That's a competitor fighter's edge. Like that same thought process and that logic is applied in sports. It's applied in everything. And like what makes you want to go home and want to basically grind. And it's like, you know what, this person ain't gonna never do me like that again. That's fire to me. That is fire.
And not just that. Not just that. You have to also want to have the desire to not have anyone do that to you. You need to have the desire to do that to people. Because you can't just take that one L and be like, listen, damn, that nigga might beat me 20-3. You know what I'm saying? I'll never have that junk happen to me again. And then learn how to beat Mike. Yeah. Or go even with Mike. Yeah. And then you go play Carlos King, might not even be as good as Mike, and get beat by Carlos King and can't beat Carlos King. And it's like, well, how can I not beat him? Because you're not trying to be good at the game. You're trying to beat a person. So, you know, those things, you got to bring them all together. And, you know, that's something you just got to have a desire to do. It'll come to you kind of natural. And if you don't have that desire, then you're just going to be a very good casual player. Which
normally those casual players, they usually try to break that threshold or that barrier. They're usually the ones, you know, I call them your neighborhood bullies. They're the ones that beat everybody in their circle. Mm-hmm. Then they they step out and they see, oh, okay, so this is a real tournament. Then they like, okay, so all right, so now I'm gonna hang around better people to get better. It's the same thing when I came to you back in the day. I was like, hey man, I want to get good like y'all. He's like, oh well, we be at the we be at the East Point House, man. Come through. All right, drove my little raggedy ass Honda down there. Got my teeth smacked up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that nigga definitely has what do you call them shits? Not dentures. What you call them other shits?
I used some strong ass.
Them partials in
ass jaw. Had to take a beat.
Oh, I wonder how you got that strong ass jaw. Y'all ever heard about him and them veneers? He got them veneers in now.
No veneers.
You know what I'm saying? He say he got a strong ass jaw though, Akimi. You better watch out. You know what I'm saying? Heard he be down there in Midtown messing with your boy Sig. Messing with Siegfried, you know what I'm saying? Sword swallower. But listen, at the end of the day, we're going to close this thing out. Any closing thoughts you want to roll us? Dang, and she verified. Your jaw is strong. Listen. Any closing thoughts for you before we get the hell up out of here?
I just want to leave with my words of saying, hey, look, I just want my scene in the community, not just ATL, but the entire scene to get better. Everybody to kind of come up and everybody to just keep playing and pushing. So, like, bring that fire back. Like, rivalry, like a real rivalry. Bring it back. I ain't saying you got to be toxic. That's not what I'm saying. I ain't saying you got to go beat a nigga ass outside and be like, man, hey, man. Nah, leave that in the past. Like, leave that back in the arcade. Ain't nobody slapping each other no more. Leave that junk alone. But I'm just saying the real rivalry. Just, Just bring that back. That's it. That's all I ask.
All right. Well, listen. I would like to also conclude by saying, I think it was an interesting discussion. I think we have an opportunity to see, a lot of stuff happen here, right? We have an opportunity to see these new school players get taken under the wing. Some old school players reach out, bring them up under the wing. I think at the end of the day, Jordan versus LeBron. Who will we ever really know how that pans out? Maybe not in the basketball world. I think there are a lot of bonuses to the newer school players. That you can't take away. Like I said, I think their intermediate level is amongst the highest intermediate levels that have ever existed across any fighting game history. I think they definitely have the tools available so that they could be better than the OG players that have been around. They have all the tools and all the resources. They have really no reason to not be better than them, but they don't have the drive that a lot of the good old school players had to have. Like, you just had to have it to get there, or you just weren't going to be good. And I think maybe some soul searching, or maybe somebody just might realize, like, maybe I only want to be casually good in that. And ain't nothing wrong with that, right? Ain't nothing wrong with it. Everybody ain't got to be the best, but I definitely think I see a lot of potential out there. I think a lot of them aren't that far from being pretty exceptional in the game. And we just look forward to everybody making progress and continue to keep this ball rolling. With that being said, I had a great time out here with y'all, man. We'd like to thank Boss Juice for bringing himself up here. We know he was feeling a little under the weather. You know what I'm saying? He's a little stronger than ever right now. Your boy MIC, we're gonna get your boy Carlos off the screen though. We had enough seeing him. You know what I'm saying? Akimi only want to look at me anyway. You know what I'm saying? So shout out that. Shout out your boy MI Sizzle. All right, listen. It's been rather real. Home of the realm of the real. Only the real could chill. Shout out to Subtle Puddle dropping the big dono right up there in the top. You know what I'm saying? Dropping the big dono right up in that area right there. Y'all see that right there? You see that right there? That's that boy Subtle Puddle's corner. Who gonna come take him out? You know what I'm saying? Look. Let me explain something to you, dog. Subtle Puddle owns this corner in the stream until somebody beats him, dog. He gonna be having his name in the stream forever if y'all don't come take him down. You know what I'm saying? This man Subtle Puddle got a permanent spot on the Tekken House stream. Shout out to Subtle Puddle. Alright. Yeah, I'll probably be putting this up on the tube. If I don't put it up on the tube, you know where you will be able to find it? tknhouseent.com. Check out the video gallery section. That's pretty much what we're doing with most all of our videos here. All our content pretty much going to go probably on the back side of YouTube so we can upload it to the website. So y'all can go over there and check out all our stuff. Make sure y'all get you some fly gear like this right here. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to my boo in the next room. You know what I'm saying? With the fire designs. Get you a hat, get you all that. You know what I'm saying? We even got face masks in this thing so you can cough on them before you put them in a coffin. Okay? You know what I mean? It is what it is. Much appreciation to everybody. We're going to find somebody to send y'all off to. Hope you enjoyed the conversation. It was delightful having everybody here. And until next time, it's been real here in the realm of the real. Only the real can chill. Peace.